Like gravity, time also a universal quantity which is part of record keeping. Now let's see the timeline of watches. German clockmaker Peter Henlein, who lived in 15th century, is often credited as the inventor of the watch. However, other German clockmakers were creating miniature timepieces during that period, and there is no evidence Henlein was the first. These watches were worn on a chain around the neck. They were heavy drum-shaped cylindrical brass boxes several inches in diameter. They had only an hour hand. These early clock watches were not worn to tell the time. The accuracy of their verge and foliate movements was so poor, with errors of perhaps several hours per day, that they were practically useless. They were made as jewelry, and accurate timekeeping was of very minor importance. Pocket watch. Styles changed in the 17th century, and men began to wear watches in pockets. To fit in pockets, their shape evolved into the typical pocket watch shape, rounded and flattened with no sharp edges. Glass was used to cover the face beginning around 1610. This watches used mainspring mechanism as a source of power instead of primitive verge and foliate mechanism. Balance springs. Accuracy occurred in 1657 with the addition of the balance spring to the balance wheel. This increased watches' accuracy enormously, reducing error from perhaps several hours per day to perhaps 10 minutes per day, resulting in the addition of the minute hand. The increased accuracy of the balance wheel focused attention on errors caused by other parts of the movement of the watch, igniting a two-century wave of watchmaking innovation. Temperature compensation and chronometers. The development of accurate marine chronometers required during sea voyages produced many technological advances that were later used in watches. It was found that a major cause of error in balance wheel timepieces was changes in elasticity of the balance spring with temperature changes. This problem was solved by the bimetallic temperature compensated balance wheel invented in 1765 by Pierre Leroy and improved by Thomas Earnshaw. Lever escapement. The lever escapement, invented by Thomas Mudge in 1759 and improved by Josiah Emery in 1785, gradually came into use from about 1800 onwards. Lever escapements allowed watches to become much thinner than they had previously been. This caused a change in style. The thick pocket watches went out of fashion and were only worn by the poor. Wristwatch. By 1900, with these advances, the accuracy of quality watches, properly adjusted, topped out at a few seconds per day. From the beginning, wristwatches were almost exclusively worn by women. Some people claim the world's first wristwatch was created by Abraham Louis Breguet for Caroline Murat, Queen of Naples, in 1810. Rolex wristwatch of 1910 became the first such watch to receive certification as a chronometer in Switzerland and also won an award in 1914 from Kew Observatory in London. Wristwatches were first worn by military men towards the end of the 19th century. The impact of the First World War dramatically shifted public perceptions on the man's wristwatch and opened up a mass market in the post-war era. Electric watch. The first generation of electric-powered watches came out during the 1950s. These kept time with a balance wheel powered by a solenoid, by a steel tuning fork vibrating at 360 Hz, powered by a solenoid driven by a transistor oscillator circuit. The hands were still moved mechanically by a wheel train. In mechanical watches, the self-winding mechanism, shockproof balance pivots, and mainsprings became standard. Quartz watch. The first quartz watch to enter production was the Seiko 35 SQ Astron, which hit the shelves on 25 December 1969, which was the world's most accurate wristwatch to date. Since the technology having been developed by contributions from Japanese, American and Swiss, nobody could patent the whole movement of the quartz wristwatch, thus allows every manufacturers to participate in the rapid growth and development of the quartz watch market. Almost 100 years of dominance by the mechanical wristwatch legacy came to end. The first digital electronic watch with an LED display was developed in 1970 by Pulsar. In 1974, the Omega Marine Chronometer was introduced, the first wristwatch to hold Marine Chronometer certification and accurate to 12 seconds per year. The power-saving use of CMOS logic and LCDs in the second generation increased battery life and accuracy of 5-10 seconds per month. In 2010, Citizen Watch of Japan introduced a newly developed movement that uses a new type of quartz crystal with ultra-high frequency, which is claimed to be accurate to 10 seconds a year and has a smooth-moving second hand rather than ticking one. Radio-controlled wristwatch. In 1990, German clock manufacturer offered the first radio-controlled wristwatch, the Mega 1. In this type, the watch's quartz oscillator is set to the correct time daily by coded radio time signals broadcasted by government-operated time stations. Atomic watch. In 2013, John Patterson introduced their cesium-133 atomic watch, the first watch to keep time with an internal atomic clock. This watch contains a tiny cesium atomic clock on a chip. It is reported to keep time to an accuracy of 1 second in 1,000 years. Smartwatch. The first smartwatch was the Linux watch, developed in 1998 by Steve Mann, which he presented on February 7, 2000. Seiko launched the Ruputer in Japan. It was a wristwatch computer, and it had a 3.6 MHz processor. In 1999, Samsung launched the world's first watch phone. It was named the SPHWP-10. It had a built-in speaker and mic, an antenna and a monochrome LCD screen. Now smartwatches have its own operating system which allows it to run apps and keeps records. For more videos, subscribe.